the Age of Fission radio show with your host, Lonnie Clark. We stand together and accept that we now live in a world transformed by Fukushima. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here on UCY.TV radio. We relentlessly engage every ear that listens. We expose and confront the complete lack of accountability for the nuclear industry. Consider social engineering programs who view our bodies, minds, and souls as assets on a balance sheet. We discuss vital current issues, interview activists, and engage our audience in an effort to allow all voices to be heard. The Age of Vision radio show creates a venue that all will choose. We encourage our listeners to reclaim their power and their courage to take action and save our planet from the ravages of greed and indifference. Our actions matter. Every voice matters. We remind our listeners that happiness is resistance. Love is greater than fear. Good morning, UCY.TV radio listeners. This is Lonnie Clark, and welcome to the Age of Vision radio show. We have 2 shows left in 2015, and I want to thank everybody for listening to our show and thank the producers and the supporters of UCY.TV for giving me this opportunity. As you know, on Mondays, I have adopted St. Louis as kind of, I think they reflect us as Americans, and I am talking about them every single Monday and talking to local activists and people who are living in this environment and coming up with solutions and taking action and doing what it's going to take to get our government to change their minds, be responsible, and start working on solutions. And frankly, we have a gem of an activist here who contacted me. I posted on the Westlake Landfill and the Coldwater Creek page just the facts that I wanted to interview people, and he contacted me. His name is Scott. He's a general contractor, and he has an idea for soil remediation that is, really not unique, but boy, does he have it down pat. He has a really great website. It's a blog that I can't wait to have him discuss with you. So let me bring him on right away. Scott, welcome to our show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm a little nervous, but I'm going to work through this. It's no big deal.
All right.
It's a pleasure to share the EPA's own studies about phytoremediation by phytoextraction. What that means is we're growing plants with heavy metal that are in the soil, and the plant absorbs the heavy metals, and it either cycles it while it's growing or it stores those heavy metals in the plant. The phytoremediation is a fancy word for harvesting that plant and getting it off the ground and taking it away from the soil.
Right. And that's exactly what we need in St. Louis. In Bridgeton, Missouri, the Coldwater Creek area, Westlake Landfill, all those places need to be cleaned up. And, not, sooner than later, as quick as possible.
And like I mentioned, the EPA has done their own studies on this and found that it is a viable solution for removing the heavy metals out of the soil. As a matter of fact, on my blog, I quote EPA studies. I quote what's going on in Chernobyl. They're studying it for Fukushima.
Why
You
don't
know,
you give
there's
the name of your, why don't you tell the listeners the name of your um, blog that you have going on? Because it's a really well put together page, to be honest. It's got tons of information.
thank you. The blog address is blog.mohempenergy.org. That's MOHEMPENERGY.org.
That's right. It
What is
is
it?
really,
What?
it's chock full of information. I apologize to Scott right before we came on the air. He contacted me about a week ago and I've been talking to him, but I've been busy with Christmas. I did not have a chance to really explore his page that he gave me, and honestly, it's awesome. There are pages where I opened up a page here that is based on proposals. It says hemp for income, jobs, and soil remediation of nuclear waste in Bridgeton, Missouri, and Coldwater Creek area of St. Louis region. Do you mind if I read this a little bit? This was really great.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, it says the following information was shared with Republic Services business partner WebLink 12/7/2015. Republic Services is the organization that is in control of Bridgeton landfill, to my knowledge. Scotty, that's from you. Okay, now we're quoting. During the Manhattan Project, nuclear waste was dumped in a landfill in St. Louis region. People are getting sick, cancer is rampant, government buildings are being abandoned, babies are born with birth defects, the list goes on. This is an EPA Superfund site that has been neglected for years. Introduction of soil remediation of nuclear waste at Bridgeton landfill and Coldwater Creek areas with a natural solution that will pay for itself from the crop grown and harvested and sold. So tell us about this. Tell us what you hear. It's saying, I'm confident that hemp in combination with a special mushroom can be used as soil remediation tool that will eliminate the radiation of the Bridgeton landfill. How does that work?
The plants are grown, and while they're growing, they cycle those heavy metals up into the plant.
So then you take the plants out and then you dispose of the plants.
Right, correct.
So do the plants become super radiated? Is that what happens? They just absorb all the radiation?
It depends on which plant we're talking about, but some plants put them in the stalk. Some plants are confined to the root system, and some plants are store the heavy metals in their leaves.
And so have you sent out a proposal on this to the government? I mean, what have they said when you've done this?
I have never been so disgusted with the way our government works as trying to submit a proposal like this. It is, surely they're not purposely trying to create this maze of submitting a proposal.
But that were not true. Oh, if only that were not true. They, in fact, probably most likely are. No matter, honestly.
But for whatever reason, yes, I have submitted this. I've submitted it to the Missouri government officials in a few offices. I've submitted it to the EPA. I'm working on getting the National Health organization involved. I'm trying to work this from as many angles as I can.
Well, you certainly have a great page here with a lot of information. You have done a lot of homework. You have an investor page. You have a place where people can actually step in and help get this job done. That's what I love about your page here. It's not just, oh, this is a great idea. You have some seriously thought out proposals that really they can take into action right away. I mean, this is not something that they have to think about. You have, like here, you have a page on hemp energy. What page is this? Bridgeton landfill phytoremediation proposal. This is a great proposal. They hemp for income and phytoremediation for bridge and landfill can utilize industrial hemp plants' abilities to neutralize heavy metals absorbed at the root of the hemp plant. And you actually show there's like pictures to make it very simple for people to understand how it works and how it absorbs it all. It says in many studies done by the division of the AG, the biofuel industry, renewable energy industry professionals all tout hemp and its ability to produce valuable pollution-free biomass energy options. Biomass is a broad term that includes many forms of energy. This is such a great page. Listen to what you say later. The biomass of industrial hemp plant grown on the toxic soil will finance the endeavor. $100,000 loan divided by $80 a ton, which is determined by the market, equals 1,250 tons. This actually really explains the mathematics in basic terms for people. 1,250 tons divided by 5 years is 250 tons per year. 250 tons divided by 9 tons per acre is 27.77 acres. I mean, this is actually a real way that we could actually remediate the harm that's being caused there. What's the current plan by the EPA? What do they suggest? Do you know what that is, Scott?
Not for sure. I've read a few things that they're trying to do. To be honest, I don't think they know what to do.
I agree with you completely. I think you are 100% right.
They created this monster and they didn't know what was going to happen, or I don't know, for whatever reason. I know what's going on in another state where they are, after a while now, they are gonna take that bad soil out of that area, away from everybody. That's what's going on in another state.
What
so
state?
I have high
what
hopes.
state? Where? What state is it?
I'm not for sure. I want to say Pennsylvania,
Maybe.
but I'm not for sure.
Yeah, Pennsylvania is pretty polluted with nuclear. But this is the point. They're going to take it and put it where, and then they contaminate the roads that they're on. This is the dirty little secret about it. This solution that you have is actually a solution that we could use in every single state where there's problems. This is something that we really could do if it's just a matter of remediating the soil. We can't make up for actually, cannabis can help cure a lot of the cancers and prevent cancers, use it medically. Jimmy Carter just came out and said he's alive because of medical marijuana. Did you see that? His brain tumor went away. He attributes it in large part to the medical marijuana.
Wow, that's great.
You didn't. That came out about a month ago, and it was quickly buried. His statement was quickly buried. How dare he say that?
Right. It's I don't, it's going to take, anyway, back to my proposal.
Please do.
One of the things that, if they go hauling that dirt out of there, where are they going to put it? No other state wants that dirt, so what, and I'm not saying it all needs to stay there. I'm just saying, here's what I quote the EPA's own studies, and they say there's 30,000 sites in the USA, 300,000 to 400,000 worldwide that this phytoremediation could assist with. And what's great about it is it's also the cheapest way to deal with this nuclear radiation in the soil.
Mm-hmm.
By hundreds and thousands of dollars.
Right. Billions, probably billions of dollars when you think about the way that they waste money. But that is in view. Frankly, remember earlier you said, I don't think they're putting up all these obstacles on purpose. I actually do believe they do, because they don't want a cheap, inexpensive way to do it. They want somebody in the government it's war profiteering. Someone's got to make money. And they're not letting this off that easy. If this is the solution, I guarantee you they'll like make it only so that the government can grow it, and then they have to charge a boatload more money. I mean, it is outrageous that we have such a fascist state. To be frank with you, that's how I feel about it. I mean, I don't know. As you can tell, I mean, I'm a lot of my my backlog on how I've kind of gotten very cynical, in looking at all of this, just because. How many times have you submitted this proposal, Scott? Twice, I think you
Prob-
said.
Probably half a dozen, maybe
For real.
8.
Oh my gosh. And every
But
time,
I'm
what
just
do they come up with something new that you forgot to put this in, you forgot to put that in?
a lot of times they don't even tell me.
Hmm.
I don't get any. The best feedback I've got on my proposal was the Missouri government official in the hazardous waste division said he would forward my proposal to all the parties involved.
And that was it. And then no feedback.
That
Did you try to follow up with any of them to see what they said?
um, I've been busy trying to since that email reply. I shared that with my group members, and then so I was like, well, there's got to be a way to get these people to listen to a little person, and that's when I found the National Institute of Health organization, where since this is a health issue, they would become involved.
And have they agreed to do that? I think that's an excellent idea. Actually, that's an
It's
excellent idea.
I have to get them involved. I have to go back to them same government proposal pages at the SAM
Mm-hmm.
and EPA website that are causing me all the grief. Where I don't understand what they want. They send me
Mm-hmm.
that 12 pages of directions that are all separate, and then
It's just
they
gobbledygook. Yeah, I get it. Well, you know what? That's kind of what I do in my own personal business, actually, is I read tax law. Like, that's why people pay me money, because I can actually understand that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I get what you're saying. There's instructions, and it has to be done exactly the correct way. So,
and
well,
right
I'll tell you
and
this. Maybe you can send that to me and I can help you. I'll just offer to help. I mean, I won't charge you any money, but if I can understand it, or maybe we need to find somebody out there who's like a pre-law, or somebody who's studying environmental hazards on doing, rights proposals for the government, that might be able to give you a call and help sort through how to get this through, because this is actually a great idea. Your blog is actually really quite helpful. There's a lot of information on here. It's very interesting.
thank you again. It's navigating the grant funding paperwork that I am having the biggest difficulty with. I have
Hmm.
all the information that supports what I want to do, but it's navigating the grant paperwork, because there is money available
For this
for this.
type of grants.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
there is money from 2 or 3 organizations, but I
Okay.
feel it's going to take a powerful organization to get involved.
Yeah, well, that's what Ackerman keeps saying. We need big, powerful money to get involved in this, to stop the nuclear insanity. That's really, and I think that this is actually a good way for them to find their way in, because there's a lot of nuclear insanity going on in our country. East of the Mississippi, there are 50 locations with 51 locations with multiple nuclear reactors. That's not including storage or the government sites. I mean, it's out of control, to be honest, and we need a solution. This is a great solution, and there's a lot of, this isn't just like some thing we think, we hope it's going to work. It's been proven, hasn't it, that the hemp and the mushrooms together, especially the mushrooms, when you combine them, they're like this supercomputer. They regenerate the earth. They figure out what's wrong with the soil, and it's like a computer, don't you think? Isn't it? That's my understanding of it.
Yeah, that would be a simplistic explanation.
Yeah,
It's just
that's what
like,
I need, simplistic, because I don't, my brain doesn't jive with the science language, man.
right, I struggle with that as well. I sometimes in my research, I spend a half an hour looking up one word to figure out what they mean.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to do on my blog, is I try to take all that and turn it into language that the average person understands.
It's good. It's actually really good. It's very helpful. This page, Industrial Hemp Remediation Solution, Bridgeton Landfill. This is actually really great. We really do need this because the people of Missouri are really, and people think, well, if you're not living near Bridgeton, it's not going to harm you. Yes, it is. It's affecting the entire community. There's no way it cannot. Isn't it getting into your groundwater now?
I think so. There is too much cancer in this city. I've looked up the cancer stats for the world, and then focused down on this little area, and it's higher. It's not the highest, but it's pretty high on their list. I believe it's going to be in the top 20.
Wow.
Maybe the top 10. So it is. I don't know what it's from. It's when I look at some of them other places that are above us, they are all around big coal-fired stations or coal-fired plants as well.
Huh. Well, you know what? This is the other thing is they're not actually counting. A lot of times they're not actually counting a lot. Well, look, St. Louis City, 157. When we're looking at just the state cancer profiles, incident rates, Missouri counties, just the cancers that we're looking at. Let's see. Let's just say all cancer sites instead of just looking at some. All ages. We'll generate a table for that. This is a really great little thing. You can come here. We'll just go straight down to St. Louis and we'll take a look at what St. Louis looks like and see if it's somewhere close. Because they kind of have St. Louis buried, like it's way down on the list. I noticed this part. Here we go.
Then, see, that's just focusing on the city. The landfill area is actually in St. Louis County. So, by rights, they should be combined into one.
Sheesh. St. Louis County, 5,880. St. Louis City, 1,526. 5,880 out of all the counties. Let's see. That is by far the highest. St. Charles County, 1,691. Jefferson County, 1,024. Jackson County, 3,240, half. Greene County, 1,333. All the other counties are like 168, 194. They're all small numbers. But check out St. Louis. It sticks out like a sore thumb. If you're doing statistics, 5,880, wow. That's outrageous.
And I can think of a half a dozen of people that I know that grew up here in St. Louis that have died from cancer. Okay, that means they've been exposed to all that radiation for their whole life.
Right.
Because once the stuff comes out of the ground, the wind blows it.
Well, it's been there for 70 years. They haven't told us. They didn't even tell St. Louis for over 20 years.
Right.
For real.
Right.
Like, they just kept it secret. People didn't know why they were getting cancers. And then they had to admit it. Like, this is a failing of this is where America gets to really decide, are we going to be Americans? This is why I can't forget St. Louis, Scott. Because really, this is where Americans decide, are we going to be Americans and stick up for Americans? Or are we just going to let Americans be test lab babies, knowingly? Like, are we just going to, forgive all the politicians who feel coerced and colluded? Like, you were telling me this, we talked about this very briefly. There's a state representative, Maria Chappelle-Nadal. I've heard her talk, but I did not realize how aggressively she has been defending the people of her district, District 14 out there, and calling for the governor to do something about the off-the-chart cancer rates in St. Louis. And do you know that on my Facebook page, when I go to the Westlake landfill and all these other things, Scott says she posts there all the time. I haven't ever seen one. And this is the power of Facebook. Don't trust what you're seeing on Facebook is going to be everything that has been listed there. Because I hadn't seen any of her posts. Interestingly, I had to like Google them, her name on that blog on that site to see her posts. So this is how strong the nuclear cartel is, and it is time for us as Americans. The only way they got away with this is because nobody knew about it. And now, like this work that you've done, Scott, is so unbelievable. You've done a lot. Now, are you doing this business? Is this a thing that it looks like you're actively doing it. It's a very impressive blog site, I have to say. I'm impressed. Is this all still in the proposal phase, or are you able to grow some hemp plants and start remediating any soil out there?
Under Missouri's current law, we're not able to grow hemp in Missouri unless it's under unless it's tied in with like an educational facility. Okay, rather than one of my advisors had suggested that instead of pushing 2 boulders up a hill, he's like, just push 1 boulder up the hill, because the boulder represents the EPA and all the government and all the big money I'm fighting. He says CANAF, which is like a sister to the hemp plant, can do the same things as hemp, and it is legal to grow. So that is how I am now going to approach this. With instead of
what's
fighting
it called?
them,
CANAF?
CANAF.
Never heard of it, but great idea. Brilliant. I think that's a brilliant solution. And then now, can you start growing it and doing the remediation and testing the soil on your own to show that it's actually working? Is that part of your next plan?
Yes, that is planned for this springtime planting.
Wow. I definitely want to have you back on the air and follow this, because this is what I mean, Scott. There are solutions out there, and you're part of the solutions. Like, we need to give you voice. We need to help you. And so you have these government proposals that you need help writing. Is that part of what's going on here with you also?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So there might be people listening to this show who can contact you. Now, is there a way to contact you on your blog site? Does it say contact us?
There's a contact form. I will put another link on my blog to contact me as well when we're done with the interview.
Yeah. Because that way people can actually contact you directly, because people will be listening to this show repeatedly on YouTube. It gets posted on UCY TV's YouTube channel, and also on mine. And there's people that share it, and they share it, and they share it, and we don't know who will be listening. But you know what? If you need help, I can guarantee you can find help doing that. And maybe even with somebody right there in St. Louis, because I know the people of St. Louis now are listening on Mondays, because we do have solutions. We do have solutions, and you actually are able to come up with an idea that is completely workable and using a plant that's legal, that the government can't pick holes in just because they don't want to make it legal.
Right. Like I mentioned, they've been using hemp to help remediate the soil at the Chernobyl disaster for 10 years. So it's not like this theory hasn't been proved and studied. There's lots of information out there. A lot of it is behind paywalls, and I can't afford to buy all those paywalls to read their stuff.
So when you say paywalls, you mean blogs that cost money?
I'm scientific
journals.
The people that do the scientists that do the studies.
Yeah.
They want to make a little money off their work, and so they say, hey, we'll give you this study for $30 or whatever, or some of them are $200. It just depends.
Yeah, some of them are very expensive. The more information, the more valuable the information, the more expensive it is. That's the horrible part about that system that we have. It's like they do this incredible work and then nobody gets to see it except for those people who can pay. And then the ones who can pay often suppress the information because it competes with their bottom line. It feels a solution to the problem they're causing. So it's a complete outrage. Now let's go back to your page because it is chock full of information. Is there a page on here you'd like to discuss? Anything on here like the Bridgeton landfill phytoremediation proposal? That one was really a great page. And then you have the hemp for income jobs, soil remediation, and nuclear waste in Bridgeton, Missouri. And on your web, let's talk about your page here because you have this archive blog. And really from December, you have 23 blogs just from December. So you're on here every single day finding solutions and authorizing information. Wow.
When one of the Missouri government hazardous waste guys, he told me that the way to make the people in control listen is by social media and social political action to where a whole bunch of people get involved and say, hey, you got to do something. And whether it's my idea or whether it's somebody else's, I don't care. But we just got to help them people. And by helping them people, like in the immediate Bridgeton area, helps the St. Louis city as a whole.
Well, not only that, the thing is, the whole city, eventually, if they don't fix this solution, because the way the radiation, everybody's downwind. I mean, it's not huge leakings, but it's going to get into the water. It is going to really destroy the city. And now they have a chance to fix it. So I found this page that it's phytoremediation potential of Kenoff, Bridgeton and Westlake landfills. That was done December 22nd. That's actually a pretty new one. Here's the information from a past study. This is actually interesting. Phytoremediation potential for Kenoff, which is Hibiscus cannabinus L, grown in different soil textures and cadmium concentrations. So you have to really understand how the whole science of how things work to do this. Greenhouse experiment was conducted in the University of Agriculture in Abeokuta, Ogun State, Nigeria. Topsoils were collected from Murtala Victoria Botanical Garden, EP Lagos State, Nigeria, and UNAAB Teaching and Research Farm. So it looks like they did a whole bunch of remediation. The higher absorption by the Kenoff in the two soils. Wow, that's pretty good.
What's also incredible about that little study was that the more they increased that Canadian level, the higher, the more absorption the plant did.
That's what it said. There was a significant absorption, positive correlation between the cadmium applied and the cadmium absorbed by the Kenoff. Wow. So as there was more cadmium, it absorbed more. It was able to take more on.
Right.
Wow. This is exciting. This is really exciting. The conclusions and regrowth and yield parameters of Kenoff reduced with increased cadmium concentrations. Growth and yield reduced with increased. Ability of Kenoff to absorb cadmium varied with soil texture, soil pH, and concentration of cadmium in the soil. Further research could be carried out with other varieties of Kenoff at much higher concentrations. This is exciting science this is the thing. Do you think that the people that you've met in our government in these agencies, when you talk to the NIH or those other agencies, do they know about this? Are they experimenting to do this?
The NIH, they have a program geared towards this. Whether they are actually doing it, I don't know.
So they are at least looking at it.
It's the people in control are aware of this solution.
Wow. And so they're just taking the slow train as usual to maximize the maximum number of deaths or what. Like, I don't get these people. I am just, I don't know, Scott. I know you live there, but I'm dumbfounded at the slow train. I can't get over it. I can't get over that people there in your community are not just like refusing to go to work until they fix this problem. You know what I mean? Like, really? Children are dying. And you have a solution that you could go in there right now, tomorrow. They could allow you to just go in and start working it, but you have to jump through all these paperwork hoops just to be able to get there. And then maybe it'll be funded once they decide, yes, we like this idea. This is a non-functioning government entity. That's really what happens. It's dumbfounding.
Yes, and to speak their language, because more attention is given to nonprofits. I'm in the process of adding crew members to my nonprofit and everybody, and I'm going to try to approach them that way.
That's a good idea. That's a really excellent idea. Make it a nonprofit.
There's an old saying, if you can't beat them, join them. Well, I'm going to join them. I'm going to sit at their table when they are talking about how to deal with this stuff.
Yes.
And I'll shove their own studies in front of their faces and make them read. You guys say this will work.
I unplugged my phone. I apologize for that.
It's okay.
Go ahead. People always try to call me at between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning.
Maybe that's somebody calling in to talk.
No, that's my office line. I'm in my office.
Okay.
My real job, my usual 9 to 5 job, that's one of my things is I didn't get into this. I'm not some radical like anti-nuke person, but when I started hearing about it, I help people with tax problems. That's my real job. That's what I do for a living. I have clients, I help them prepare their taxes, but my big forte is I help people resolve their tax issues. And so I came into this backwards. Like, I look at the people of St. Louis. Frankly, the reason I help people with taxes and why I do this with people all around the country, it's not just here locally in Oregon. Most of my clients are out of state. But the reason I do it is because I really believe in us being Americans. I believe in that. And I believe that we need to, really help each other. And I can't get over the fact that our government has known that this stuff was there and it was mishandled. Okay, I get that. It's been horribly mishandled. Okay, we understand. People made mistakes. A lot of those people aren't even alive to pay the piper. You know what I mean? They're done. But the issue is we still have families living right next to it. We need to move the families. We need to start remediation not in 2 years from now. We need to, you can start this spring planting this plant, this quinoa.
That's my plan.
You know?
That's my plan. That's what I want to shoot for. Because the way they're taking care of the ground now, they got some of it covered with big tarps, and they got open. They have dirt with nothing growing on it. Okay.
Wow.
Anytime the wind blows that dirt around, it's called wind erosion with the soil. Those dirt particles are being blown wherever in the world.
Wow. Wow. Well, think about just this week. Didn't we just have a big flood in Missouri? The waters are all over Bridgeton.
There's flooding going on all over the state.
Hazelwood Civic Center at Dunn Road, flooding in parking garage and backlot field. Coldwater Creek is out of its bank, spreading whatever everywhere. This is what people in Bridgeton have to live with. They're posting on a Facebook page. Exactly. Oh, here it is. This bill was introduced December 1st. This was posted December 23rd by Senator Maria Nadel Chapman of Missouri State Senate. Thank you, Senator. This is her bill. Do you know what her bill is?
No, not yet.
The current summary. Oh, it's just to move it. Who owns a home within 3 miles of Westlake landfill may apply to sell their homes at market rate for the Department of Natural Resources. This is the bill that's needed that will help people move so they can get away from the landfill. We're going to have to post that on my Facebook page and on my and also here underneath on the notes. I'll dig it up and we'll put it on the notes. This is what you and I were talking about, Scott, beforehand, because this is the only senator who's actually taking it seriously. So this means that people in St. Louis and across the country need to be calling the state senators and saying, hey, we want you to pass the bill introduced by State Senator Maria Chappelle-Nadal. They'll go, well, what bill? And then you have to say to move the people so people can start moving away from right over there. I mean, it's just an insane. Scott, did you ever I don't know how old you are, but did you ever in your mind ever think we'd come to a place in the United States where you and I, two regular citizens, are having a conversation on a small radio show talking about the government neglecting a nuclear dump site and letting people live right next door to it?
I've known of other issues where the government has used the people for pawns. Another one that deals with radiation is called the Cincinnati radiation litigation issue. It's an old one that talks about after World War II, the United States brought German scientists over into a town, Cincinnati, and they experimented on people on the lower classes of people. And anyway, and then years later, the people finally got them to admit what they were doing. And anyway, so I've known about government using people for pawns before, and so it all doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, well, I guess that's what happened. This came out in 1994. I just Googled it as you were talking. 2002, 2007. They keep talking about it again and again. 1960 to 1972. Wow, that's what they're talking about. So in all of this, and the government is just like one of those things that's just swept under the rug. The only problem, the big difference here is we're talking about St. Louis. St. Louis is a big city. It's vital to the American economy. We have a big airport. I mean, it's so outrageous. I can't believe that people are just willing to just it's not just experimenting. It's experimented on the entire city of St. Louis, and the chickens are coming home to roost right now because people are getting sick, children are dying, the cat's out of the bag. And it's time for them to stop with their denial that radiation is just not that harmful, because it is. It's extremely harmful. I'm grateful, Scott, that you are willing to take the time to learn about this, to put your neck on the line in a state where, even talking about hemp is considered outrageous in, parts of your state. And thank you for this, because this is actually this will work. There's a lot of evidence that this does work. I mean, I hope that you're able to get this thing going quickly. And I mean, maybe the idea that you've changed plants, maybe that will help you move this whole idea along. Do you think that will help in a long ways?
Anything will help. I believe a little bit of the collective unconscious, to where we get a bunch of people working towards a goal, then that goal will be accomplished. To speed up, it's going to take, whether it's social media pressure or social pressure from the people, whether it takes getting big organizations involved, like the National Health Institute, people talking about it, just like we are right here. That is going to bring, more attention to the issue. The more attention we bring, the more people that will that will do something.
It also in my view, it also brings more vibrational energy. It creates a consciousness. Our thoughts are things. This is why they don't want us to think about it. That's why they jump through hoops trying to get us to not think about it. They don't want us to think about it because really, honestly, if we think about it, we could actually get a lot done. And we are going to get a lot done. Look what you've done. This is really an incredible. Give the name of that website again. It's called blog.mohampenergy.org, right?
That's correct.
That's
correct.
blog.mohampenergy.org. And it is chock full of information. And go to his the blog archive because it talks about business investors, partners. There's one that I really liked when I was looking at it, and this is what I really appreciate. You do not need to be an expert to innovate. And you have several bullets here that says, in all 4 companies I founded, I was far from being an expert. So it's awesome that, this is what's really, number 1, innovation is about solving big problems. Across the board, great innovations are also solutions to big problems that many people have tried to solve but have left those same people scrambling for answers. So it's about solving big problems. Number 2, big problems aren't often solved by the existing experts. So it's going to take somebody from outside the realm of expertise to think of a solution. It takes a new pair of eyes to spot the pain. This was sweet. This was good. My brother finally helped me to see that purple parachute pants in the mid-90s weren't a good idea. Similarly, in business, it's often the guy that's outside that sees the problem. And number 5, experts won't risk their status to find a solution. This is where we're at right now with the nuclear industry, Scott. We have experts, even the people at Beyond Nuclear. That job goes to someone whose risk-reward ratio is different, someone who stands to gain more than they might lose by innovating. Exactly. And the last thought. The above is more of a cycle of innovation than a story of experts having bad intentions, which usually isn't the case. Marching forward and solving big problems always require new voices in the conversation. I like that. That's really originally posted.
And you need to mention who wrote that.
That's from Daniel Jacobs, founder and CEO of Avanoo, Avanoo.
Right. He's the gentleman that wrote that. And I thought it fits my proposal and what I'm trying to do so perfectly.
It's actually really great. Now, what's Avanoo? I never heard of that.
The what's that?
Avanoo.
I don't know.
It's a tech company or something.
He's an entrepreneur out there that's doing his thing.
Well, I'll tell you what, your page is really great. Like just in December, you have 23 posts. Like just these titles of these posts are really phytoremediation research web links. You can go there. People can go there and look at that. Phytoremediation process uranium tailings. That's really important. We have a lot of uranium tailings, and that causes huge problems. John Goffman talked about that. Mohemp Energy scientific crowdfunding update. Now, are you getting crowdfunded on this project?
I'm trying. Part of when I mentioned big organizations are trying to get bigger companies involved with more resources than I have. One of them is called the Clean Tech Open Challenge. They are a worldwide organization that says they find, whatever. They find a little guy like me with a big idea, and they assist me on bringing it out to the people.
Great.
One of the other scientific crowdfunding is through Idea Scale, and that's a government program put on by the Oak Ridge Labs Institute. They are in charge of a lot of the nuclear business that goes on. They don't even hardly recognize my little suggestion. It doesn't make it into their it doesn't make it into their circulation. It just doesn't. they don't even recognize it because they don't want to admit it. I think. I
And
don't know.
who is
But
this?
I'm not the greatest writer either, you know. And so these people look at me like, who is this guy with this harebrained idea? You know?
Yeah.
We can just brush him aside.
Mm-hmm.
But that's been I realized this early.
Well,
and that's why
submitting government proposals is there's a certain format, to be honest. You can have the greatest idea, but if you don't do it in a way that they want, you might have the best idea, but you really have got to submit it in a way that they want. So, look, if you don't get any ideas, I live in a little community where there's lots of people who do grant writing and stuff. So I probably can find somebody that can help you figure that one out. And honestly, I don't think they'd even charge you. I mean, there's ways that you can get this done, and I'm glad that you're on the air. And, it's awesome that you're recognizing that there's that sort of little void that needs to be filled within your organization that would really help you take off on this one.
Right. And, I want to focus on being the farmer. That's where my intentions are best served.
Right.
And leading crews and stuff like that. But it's going to take, when we go to talking about dealing with this nuclear radiation, I want to have somebody on my team that can keep the team safe. I've solicited fluke meters. There's personal rad monitoring equipment, and then there's other things that I want to incorporate into this. But for everybody, I'm not going to have a crew member go out there and get cancer. That's
right.
I don't want that.
Exactly.
And that's why there's I sent out the invitation to the world saying, hey, I need some help here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, I certainly want to have you back on again. I hope that we can get you back on like in a month or a couple months, when you're comfortable. I'd like, not to have it too long so people don't forget about your effort, because spring is around the corner, and I'd like to have us back on and maybe an update. You don't have to take up the full hour, but it'd be really awesome if we could talk about what you're updated on and see who you've been able to connect with and move this forward. It sounds like you are moving forward. I wanted to read this poem that you posted on December 19th. Would you mind if I read that? It's really, or you can. It's really awesome.
No, I do not. And that's by a big player involved in our government.
This poem was written by a big player?
Yes, yes.
Who wrote it? Source of poem. Okay, let me see what it says. I'll open that link. I just opened up the poem. Source of poem. And Gainesville. P.S.C. Rao, University of Florida in Gainesville.
Right, but he's also working in some of them government circles.
Wow.
Because that's how I found him and found that information and got it out. But yeah, please do read the poem. It fits.
It's really cute. It's very sweet. And I read poems on the air here, so I'm big on poems. Imagine for a moment a perfect world of remediation in which there was no need for regulatory push. The PRPs always take the high ground to clean up sites voluntarily, and they do not litigate to delay. A perfect world of remediation in which the sources can always be found with certainty, and the contaminant plumes always self-remediate intrinsically, or the presumptive remedy was indeed the best technology for the site. A perfect world of remediation in which the stakeholders' concerns were often addressed early, a perfect world of remediation in which the stakeholders' concerns were always addressed early and often. They were economies of scale up. There was no valley of death, and the investors always made enough profits. Now, wake up, stop imagining, and look around carefully, remembering that imagining an ideal world is just an escape from the real world. But before you despair, ask yourself how to act to transform the real world into the one you just imagined. That's pretty cool. Exactly.
Yes, it is.
Just exactly.
It is pretty cool.
And when I went on this link, the link was pretty awesome. Innovations in groundwater and soil cleanup from concept to commercialization. Committee on Innovative Remediation Technologies, Water Science and Technology Board, Board on Radioactive Waste Management, Commission on Geosciences, Environment and Resources, National Research Council, National Academy Press, Washington, D.C., 1997. That's when this was written, 1997. Wow. So there were people. P. Suresh C. Rao, Chair, University of Florida, Gainesville. There were people in the 70s who really did see that we were headed for the wall. And they were really working hard to warn us, to help us stop the insanity. And unfortunately, I think all that got ignored. You know what I mean? Like we've got an uphill climb because we have allowed ourselves to just be lulled back to sleep, to just believe that they were taking care of it when in fact nobody was taking care of it. The chickens were in the hen house killing all the chickens, man. It's been a serious offense. This is a great little thing that you link in on your page. I'm going to tell you, we have a few minutes left here, but I really want to share with you, Scott, that your page is awesome. I'm very impressed with it. If people go just to the home page and you start looking around, scroll down and look at his archives and look at the things that he's got on there. There are quite a few: May, June, July, August, September. I would recommend this one like I do SantaOnofreeSafety.org, just chock full of information and hope. Because where there's people working on getting us solutions, we have hope. And we can actually start thinking about the future, because it's not all death and gloom. Some of us are going to survive no matter what. So is there anything else, Scott, that you'd like to say? We have about 3 minutes left to our listeners.
No, I got hundreds of things.
Well, we'll have to have you back hundreds of times.
I don't know. As the world, here's what I feel gives my project a little momentum. As the world is learning about sustainability, then it gives projects like this more power, because, like I say, it can all be done with and finance itself.
Yeah.
To where it's not going to cost our government, state, fed, whatever. It's not going to cost them any money to do this. It's a self-funding program, which in one of the NIH seminars, the webinars that I took, they were like, our government is interested in ways that do not add a whole bunch of cost onto things. Okay, so right there, I was like, oh my God, okay, well then this is it, because this is self-funding.
Mm-hmm. Well, it would be really awesome. I hope that you will come back in a month or a month and a half or so and let us know where you've advanced, or you can call us up if you have anything that you'd like to share, because honestly, this is exciting, because this is something that will actually give some immediate remediation to the people of St. Louis, which is what they need. And I really appreciate your time. So, look, we have about a minute left, so I'm going to end here. Thank you, Scott, for joining us, and please do go to his website, and that is called blog.mohempenergy.org. Correct, Scott?
Yes, that is correct. And thank you all for taking the time to listen to a little person at the very bottom of the ladder that is climbing to the top of this ladder.
Well, you know what? You can climb to the top, because that's what's going to take. It does take all of us. You have a great solution. Hopefully you'll find somebody that will get you some immediately help, and we can get this through. So, again, we will talk to you guys on Wednesday. We'll have a conversation with Thomas Ackerman. Put your courage feet on, you guys. We definitely need it. Take some action. Start living your mission. You know what you need to do to help save the planet, and just take some action. Take care. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.